that, I'd like to introduce our presenter. We'll be hearing from Results Positive CEO and Solutions Architect, Mr. John Furner, more than 20-year veteran in the IT service industry. He'll be reviewing some of the latest advances in the San Diego release, including some improvements to the alignment planner, Project Workspace scheduling, as well as digital portfolio management improvements. And with that, we'll go ahead and turn the time over to John.
Thank you so much, Sean. Welcome everyone to the What's New in San Diego release for Strategic Portfolio Management. So those of you that not know, they've rebranded IT Business Management to Strategic Portfolio Management. I think this is fantastic. We're already having customers outside of IT that were using the system, and so they strategically want to focus on all business units can get value out of the Strategic Portfolio Management solution. It also highlights their continued focus and investment around enterprise agile planning. So that's also really key. So thanks again for joining our webinar today. In terms of our agenda today, first of all, we're going to start off with our own value map. We always like to focus on value and how project portfolio management can drive value for organizations. Next, we'll be going in and highlighting some of the major release items here for San Diego. We'll also go in here in the project workspace and provide a little bit of a demonstration there as well. So our focus here today is, first of all, I wanted to focus here on value. And so we all know in terms of implementing project portfolio management processes, organizational structures, as well as technology, it's all about how do we help the organization make the best investment decisions and then be able to deliver on those investment that we've made in the organization. So how do we look for ways to increase the strategic value? How do we look for ways to optimize overall project delivery performance? Are there ways and opportunities to reduce overall administrative burdens? So we're seeing here some common goals and outcomes that we typically see as part of our discovery sessions with customers, as well as having put together their overall implementation roadmap. So what we typically see here when it comes to increased strategic business value, an opportunity to really kind of make a shift and really focus on value generating initiatives that are going to give the best return for the organization, which in a sense is going to be stopping some current initiatives so that we can have additional funding to focus on those that are going to provide the best results. And next, when we look at from an overall optimizing delivery performance, right? How do we increase that speed to market? Is that the combination of migrating from waterfall into agile development or hybrid development? Is it also giving us the ability to really make sure that we're optimizing our resources? Are they working on the right initiatives? And so as a result there, we want to increase the overall project delivery. We want to avoid delays or overruns for these precious investment dollars. Next, is there ways to use automation? We know that ServiceNow is an automation solution from a workflow perspective. So definitely there's ways to automate workflow, but at the same time, we want to make sure that the solution is simple and easy to use so we can increase the productivity and efficiency of project managers and team members working on projects. One key area that we focus a lot on is around automating some of your reporting, having that consistent, not needing the need for creating one-off PowerPoint slides, but having a consistent way that you can roll up, as well as be able to print and store that into PDF or PowerPoint. So those will be some things we'll be highlighting here at the end of our webinar today. So just kind of want to set the stage for the value. And so I like what ServiceNow here has been focusing in on to help drive increased value for customers using the ServiceNow solution. So first of all, just kind of a high-level view of the different features and enhancements. So the alignment planner came out in the Orlando release, and then that was updated in Rome. And so now we see another update here. As I mentioned before, it's a key focus area around enterprise agile planning and road mapping. So it really helps focus in on that whole strategic portfolio, that strategic road mapping capabilities. And so that's key here, and I'll highlight some of those changes. The new Project Workspace, that's probably one of the impactful solutions here. And so that's going to allow PMs a lot more ease of use and simplicity here in managing their project schedules. So we'll highlight that here as well. And then digital portfolio management, they've now included the portions here around the legacy IT, business management, around demands and projects, as well as around applications. So we'll actually going to be saving this piece here for a follow-on session. We need to give that credence and do more of a deep dive there. So we're going to focus here on the alignment planner and the workspace, as well as there's continual updates here for resource management. So it's really helping with ease of use there, as well as supporting some additional update capabilities. Then we'll also highlight on the financial management side of things. This is really impactful capabilities here for organizations that are bringing in their project actuals from their general ledger or their ERP system. And so they have some out-of-the-box things that have been created there. So really nice capabilities there that we'll be able to highlight. So if you break that down, those are the major features and enhancements here for the San Diego release. So if we were to first kind of glance here at the alignment planner workspace, a couple different things here that have been added. So first is being able to really track and view your milestones. So previously we had this roadmap capability, as I mentioned, that came out initially in Orlando, then in Rome with updates. And now here we have it so that we can actually start seeing the milestones as you're doing your road mapping and your planning here in the alignment planner workspace. So that's really nice to be able to do. There's some enhanced program increment planning by epics that you can use. There's also the out-of-the-box integration now with Azure DevOps from an epics perspective. So that can help you with your overall hybrid planning capabilities there. So that's kind of a high-level summary. The other thing I would highlight here in the major new solutions here around the alignment planner workspace, the project workspace, it's using the new experience UI. So if you're not familiar with that, ServiceNow just released a new experience UI that you can use. That can be set up on the platform for the organization at the right time. But these particular capabilities are going to be using that new experience here. So you can see a little bit different here in terms of the interface, but your whole platform doesn't have to be upgraded to the new experience to take advantage of these capabilities. So if we're to look at that just a little further, kind of compare it before San Diego and now with San Diego, as I mentioned before, one of the big things here is looking at your milestones and being able to track and view the milestone details. So that's a nice set of capabilities. We talked a little bit about here for the Azure DevOps here, so you can actually bring in your Azure DevOps epics and include that in as part of your hybrid strategic planning. So those are some of the core capabilities and just additional details here around the milestones. So just to kind of provide a little bit more information here, now you can look at all the different details associated with your milestones as you're doing that strategic planning and road mapping activities. And next here, as I mentioned, you kind of see the different milestones. Previous releases, you were kind of creating your overall milestone for your overall roadmap. And so then that way you could see it across all of your different demands or projects or epics. But in this case, now you can actually see the specific milestones within a particular project. And then you've got your various legend here as it relates to your milestone. So you can start to see here kind of the overall status of your milestones. Next thing to highlight here about the alignment workspace that's new here in San Diego is they've added in this safe template. So they're out of the box. They have these various templates that you can use that help with some of the hierarchical planning within the alignment planner workspace. If you haven't used it before, you can do a hierarchical type of roadmaps and plans, or you can do ad hoc. With the hierarchical, they use these out of the box templates. And so you can use this and be up and running. These templates are used for those users or organizations that have the standard actual licensing, but if you have the professional licensing, then you can actually configure and set up your own hierarchical flow, and then you can use that for your roadmap planning. But now here with San Diego here, and it's also with the professional edition here, is looking at it here for the safe template. But here's for the standard a template here for standard or customers with a standard license. Next here just gives you a little bit more information here about the Azure DevOps integration. So this here is kind of highlighting how you can bring in your epics from Azure DevOps, add those into your overall plan, and be able to then continue on with your overall planning activities across your demands, projects, and epics. So a couple things here on the alignment planner workspace, as I've been mentioning here, being able to do the standard demands and projects, that's part of a standard license. Doing the hybrid with the agile or the epics, that's a professional license. Same thing with the integration. And typically you can go get these apps on the store. They would have to be an overall plugin that you would then need to install. So that would need to be set up there in your environment. But you can get the core set of alignment planner workspace for a road mapping here for those customers with standard license. So next here, we'll jump into the Project Workspace planning. And this here is also using the new experience. And I'll go in here briefly and highlight a demonstration here with the new experience. But here in the workspace, it allows you to actually cut and copy and paste various roles. You can drag and drop to move tasks up and down. And so some of that was more challenging in the classic version. So that's really key here. So the copy and paste, like I mentioned, you can even do some bulk editing. So those are some of the enhancements here in the Project Workspace. So next here, if we kind of look at it before and after, we have the old workspace, which was well received by organization. Now here we have the new workspace that you can use using the next experience. What you can do is you can actually favorite that as your favorite when you come into the workspace. And here in the workspace here, you can see too that you can toggle back if you want to go back to classic, you can do that. They've also added in here two different views. So just by default out of the box, you can see my projects if you're the project manager, or you can see all. And then they've added this search capability here. So a little different than the filtering you have today, but you can type things in and filter and then be able to view the appropriate projects. So that's kind of a high level view there. Then if we come in and look at the core here is actually how to manage and maintain your project schedules and your project tasks. So you can do that here. So you can basically now start to copy and paste, drag and drop. So those are some key capabilities here in the new Project Workspace. You'll also see here that officially approved here that you can support 3,000 tasks in a project schedule. So you could probably go more than that, but that's the official certified recommendation there for your project schedule. Next here, just to have a couple other slides to kind of highlight kind of what you can do here. So you have different types of options here. So based upon the different rows that you might be selected here, you might be able to copy or delete multiple rows as an example, and then you'd be able to do some paste here if you've done a copy. So you can look at that. You can also look at indenting or out indenting various tasks very easily. So those are some other nice features. Next here, there's the opportunity to baseline like you could do before. So you can still do the baseline here. Up to 2 baselines can be viewed in the Gantt view. Next here, we can look at the various field options. So this is a little easier. So instead of having the gear on the left-hand side, you have the gear up here in all of your quick actions. And then down below here, you can see the different columns. You just unselect the different columns. You can also go over to the timeline and select what you'd like to view in the timeline. So similar, but just slightly different UI configuration there. So your grid icon here, so this is here to grab, here's to collapse, here's to expand, here's for more actions, and reorder your columns for the up or down arrows. So you can kind of see those different actions you can take there on the different tasks. Next here, we can show the critical path. So similar to how you can look at that before, but it's going to change the color to red, so you can identify that critical path. So that's a nice enhancement to focus on the red critical path. Next, you have a quick and easy way to do your attachments. So you can come over here on your manage your attachments and add attachments here to your project plan. Your activities, so you can actually come in here and add activities and comments here as well. So that's a new item as well. So basically, the core workspace, as you'd expect, is for all standard professional users. A couple of things to highlight here with the next experience planning here. So it doesn't include the agile milestones yet, the visual task board, sub-projects, or printing of the Gantt. So those are things that are on the roadmap, but just to highlight that. There is a plugin that you do need to install. So you'll need to install that plugin to get access to the new workspace. Over here in the system, hopefully you can see my screen. And here, the first time, say if I come back here into the overall project workspace, it's going to show you here the first time you come in. And it's going to show you here the new information. And it's going to give you the option. So down below here, I can see all my classic, if you will, project workspace. I can come over here, then say change that, and then move over here into the new experience. And so here first it would jump in and show if I have any of my own projects. Over here I could click in and look at all projects. We can see here that we have the overall workspace here, so we can look at that and kind of monitor that overall workspace. And then here we can do a search, right? So we could say if we want to look for new, here we can do a search on that and look at that, and we can make that update. We can see our recent searches here. So if we wanted to do any type of filtering here, we can do that here from the landing page. So next we'll go in here into the actual workspace itself. So when you come in here, really all we're doing here is looking at the actual project schedule. And that's how we can manage the overall workspace. So if we wanted to, right, we could take this milestone here and we could move that milestone up. Actually here, we just take that milestone and we can move that milestone up. Excuse me there. So I can move these milestones up to where I'd like. And so I can move it up there. I can come down here. If I want to select another one, I can move it up here in my overall schedule. So nice set of capabilities that you can do there. We can come in here. If I like here, we can select multiple different tasks here. Excuse me. Multiple different tasks, and we can identify here if we want to copy those rows. So we could copy those 3 rows here. We could come down here to this particular task here, and we could say paste below. And so then I can paste those 3 tasks here below. So some really nice capabilities here that was a little more challenging there in the previous version. So you can definitely do that. You have some other buttons here too. So you got some other buttons here that you can select. It'll actually adjust the overall size. It's a little easier here to determine what you want to view here from the Gantt view versus your list view. So a little bit more capabilities there. As we mentioned here, you can come over here and select your different columns that you want to display. So just quickly change those. You can see those changes here in the system. So a nice, easy way to make those changes here. So if I wanted to come over here, we can come over here into this, and we could say, hey, if we wanted to copy this cell, right, we could come down here and we could paste it. Here we could copy multiple cells and paste them here as well. So nice set of capabilities here with our different abilities to copy, right? So we could come in here and update the percent complete. Here we could come in here if we wanted to copy it. So we'll come up here, the 20, and we could say copy, right? We could come here and we could then go into paste that and make an update to that particular cell. So some nice set of ease of use capabilities here for the workspace. As we showed here in the slides, you could definitely come over here and do your baseline as you'd expect. Here We can look at the different legend here, some of the different shortcuts. So you can see here some of the different shortcuts. I was kind of using it here just by the navigation. You can definitely use the shortcuts here, and that way you can do some of that bulk editing and such. You just wouldn't be able to see it here. So that's some of the shortcuts and how you can take some of those actions. So a really nice set of enhanced capabilities here. Obviously, you can continue to make some of the same type of updates here, right? So I can associate various items and update my overall dependencies. So some of the same type of functionality here. I can come over here and edit my dependencies here as an example. So we can do that. So a lot of the same capabilities, but I think the drag and drop, the ability to cut and paste and bulk edit are really key. And then having your overall critical path marked there from a red perspective. So that's kind of what I wanted to highlight there in the workspace, kind of give you an idea of what's available. If we come back over here to the home page here, what we can do here, right, we can go back over into the classic workspace. So if you wanted to go back in the classic workspace, we can do that. And then from there, we would go in and go to back to the classic here, where we would see the analytics page, see our different, typical actions we would take here in managing our project, whether it be looking at the overall project details here. Obviously, the planning console, probably want to use that in the new. And then over here, we've got the resource management page here that we can use. So similar, but there's definitely some new capabilities available there, which we'll be highlighting here shortly. So that's kind of a quick view there of seeing some of those new capabilities here in the system. So if I come back here and go through an overview. So if we go into look at things from an overall resource management perspective. And so this is meant to really help make things more efficient for the project managers, and also to help out with really some core functions here to make updates to make sure that you're taking action based upon the latest and greatest information. So there's some enhanced capabilities here on the date range. So in the previous versions, depending upon the start time of an overall resource plan, it would adjust the overall schedule here to align to that particular resource plan. Now what you can do is you can set your overall dates here, and then it's going to make that persistent. You can go back to the previous date for one of those resource plans, but this way you can kind of control the timeline that you're looking to assess here as part of your resource forecast. You can enhance your filter. So you can enhance your filters here for looking at resources for allocations. The other item here is you can actually make sure that the capacity being displayed by your resource is current and up to date. As we can see over here, and we'll highlight a little bit further, I can come into a specific resource and click on the update capacity. And so instead of going into the resource user in the system, we could go in there and update capacity, make sure that we have a current accurate view of resource capacity. So if we see here, this kind of gives us a high-level summary of what the changes are for resource management. Here again, the focus is let's make it easier, let's simplify, let's add to that productivity and efficiency that we talked about up front for the value, and so that way we can be more effective in delivering our projects on time to protect those investments. We can see here that we have the date control range that I mentioned before, so that way you can kind of control the date range here that you're looking at for your different resource plans. So that's very nice. You can, looking at a specific resource plan, jump to the start of that resource plan. So you still got that capability. You can actually now start looking at bulk filling. So you can click into a planned section here, and it'll give you the opportunity to then click on fill right, and it'll fill those cells to the right with that same value. Next, we've got some additional capabilities here around the advanced filtering by role and by group. Also, you have an opportunity now to kind of add in a requested column. So if you want to, you can actually add in a requested column. There's some additional items I'll highlight here in a second about that, so things you need to keep in mind. You can actually then establish a custom date range versus just looking at the next 3 months or the previous 6 months. Now you can kind of put in your custom date range when you're trying to assess resources, their availability, and what they might already be allocated to. So that's kind of a high-level summary there of the changes here from a resource management perspective. And so, as I mentioned before, you'll be able to use that date range control to be able to select a specific range. So that's going to be key to keep that persistent there as you're managing your resource plan. And this here is actually on the allocation workbench. So this is for resource managers on the allocation workbench. Next here, also on the workbench here, is to be able to can quickly jump back to the beginning. So we can go to the start date here of a particular resource plan. So we can understand the previous allocations, if you will, or potentially even some of the previous actuals coming in for that resource plan. Next here on the allocation workbench, here we can look at the feel right capabilities. So for the planning information and the planned amount for by period, we can come in here and enter in the planned hours. And so it's going to default to the end of your overall resource plan, but you can update the number of cells there and click update, and it'll auto-populate that information going forward. Next here we can have some more advanced filtering. So we can look at the overall capacity of different team members by group or by role. So you're able to do that now with additional criteria so that we can find the right resources. So you can see here, besides just looking at group and role, then jumping down into department or location or skill. So kind of getting into additional views there. From a configuration perspective, mentioned that you can now actually see the requested. So before you would see in here your confirmed, your allocated amounts, you would see your availability and capacity and utilization. So you can kind of see those were the initial the various breakdown columns, but you can now add in the requested. So the requested is only available on demand, just from a performance perspective. So it's not retained. So the next time you come back into the allocation workbench, if you want requested, you'll need to come over here and click on requested. Next here, we can see the update capacity. So now we can come over here and look at the specific resource, and then we can click on update capacity versus going into the actual resource record to make that update. Next here, we can kind of manage the overall loading of users. So here it's going to have a set of users for 50. And so that's going to be your default, and you can adjust that by setting. But for best results, and obviously it's from a performance perspective, the recommendation is to keep that default to 50 users, but you can change it. So this is available to everyone here, all standard professional users. So this is available here. Plugins not needed there for the resource management capabilities. Next, just a brief overview here on the goals framework. So they continue to update the goals framework. This is, I think, starting to align to OKR, but obviously here from the goals framework here in ServiceNow. So you can set your goals, your targets against, you can track those, you can associate these to your demands or projects. So you can kind of associate there, and then you can use that in your overall alignment planner workspace as you're looking at doing your road mapping and making sure that you're aligned to your different goals across the organization. Here's kind of just showing a larger screenshot there of the goal entity and how you can set that up and set your overall goal as well as associate it to the right demands or projects. Here's how that starts to show up here in the actual alignment workspace. So we can start to see those specific goals showing up here. So this is available for all users here, so standard and professional customers. And next here is to look at the things from a financial perspective. So there's one key thing that I see here really valuable for organizations I mentioned it briefly before. This is for organizations that are importing their project actuals from their general ledger or from their ERP. And so that's by creating these overall cost plans automatically. And that then helps bring in the actual cost to roll up here to the actual project. So we'll kind of look at that here. Actually, I went to the wrong spot here. So here, if we come in and we look at the before from an after perspective, we're actually going to get all of our actuals. So say if you were bringing in items from ERP and General Ledger, which we've helped many customers do, a lot of times you can't map those directly to an existing cost plan. And so then they wouldn't necessarily roll up here into your actuals. But now the system's going to auto-generate a CapEx cost plan and a OpEx cost plan. So those will be generated. And so then when you have actuals coming in that aren't related to a specific cost plan, they'll be related to these system generated cost plans. And then it'll roll up here in terms of your overall actuals. So that's a nice capability, especially for organizations that are bringing that information in from General Ledger ERP, or we've had other customers where they were just creating expense lines and they weren't associating it. And so that'll help address that as well. So here we can see that we'll have these system generated cost plans, one for CapEx, one for OpEx. And that's where the actuals will flow into. And then those will be basically read-only. So you won't be able to update those here on the actual side. And then it's going to roll up here into the overall actuals. So by having those cost plans that are being generated, that capital CapEx cost plan, the OpEx cost plan, we won't have any of those orphaned expense lines anymore. And so this will be available for everyone to manage their overall project financials. So whether you have a standard or a professional license. One thing that we've noted here is part of the workspace, so the project workspace, the alignment planner workspace, that's part of the new experience. And so this is just highlighting if you were to update the overall platform, you would get enhanced experiences outside of just the workspace or the alignment planner workspace. So obviously those components have the next experience UI set up. But there's also some other things that you would be able to take advantage of if you were to update your overall platform to the new experience here. So you can see your different projects. There's actually going to be, before they were doing say red, yellow, and green dots. Now they're actually going to color code that over the actual text here, the various items there. So you'll get some enhanced here. You can see now some coloring here in terms of the phases of a project. So you'll see that here's part of the new experience. Here's another view here of looking at kind of that project listing here. So you can see that information here and some of the color coding here that'll be available. So that's what I wanted to highlight there in terms of the new experience. So in terms of the next set of items here on the agenda, a lot of times when we're implementing project portfolio management here for customers, they're asking us for the opportunity to have a nice graphical formatted project status report, program status report, business case as an example, or even just an interactive portal similar to what they might have in SharePoint. So based upon those needs and what we've seen, we've actually built solutions to address those for customers. And a lot of that here as we're using the service portal technology. So they're definitely configured using the service portal. Definitely there's going to be some code there, so you might consider that more custom, but it's using the service portal technology. That way customers can upgrade using those capabilities. So why do we have these solutions? Yes, it's definitely a need for customers. It helps with the overall adoption. It's because the usage of the information, everybody seeing the information in an engaging fashion is going to help everyone get the data in, and it's going to reduce your overall reporting efforts and be able to then not only view the information online, but be able to print that into very nice executive quality reports or down that into PowerPoint or PDF. So I have a couple examples here just to highlight here. So the nice thing here with the service portals, they can be designed and set up to match your own specific need for, say, status reports with the different types of graphics or icons here. So this is looking at a project one pager, showing an overall chart view here, showing some icons here, little fire icons for your issues, or just diamonds here for looking at things from a risk perspective, as well as showing your overall timeline. But the key thing here is that this will be just look native in the system. You'll just go to the status reports page and it'll be here, but you can then print this out. You can save it to PDF in this one page format. We also do 2 pages for organizations that need more information to be tracked and reported for those very large complex projects. So the PM can kind of select as they're creating their project status report, what type of status report they want to create. And as I mentioned too, these can also be exported into PowerPoint. Next here is just another version of a status report. So selecting various information you want to have visible. Here looking at kind of the speed to market here, a little bit more assessment here, some of your ROI information around it, even showing kind of a financial summary here for the 5-year forecast as an example. Here again, that's just looking at page 1. Page 2, getting into the core items here of accomplishments and issues and risks. So you can kind of see different options are available. And next, here's just another view. This is a program. So here would be a program. You see all your different projects here. But what's nice is you can print all this out into print, PDF, PowerPoint. So you can have the whole Gantt chart as well as all the narrative here associated with your program status report. Same thing here. You could do a larger 2-page program status report and basically have your overall program roadmap. Here's some other examples that we've done. So when it comes to the intake process and managing your demands and intake, we've had multiple requests there. And typically why this is the case is they're wanting to have a printout of both the charts as well as the listing. And so that's more challenging to do with out-of-the-box dashboards, as well as then they want to have some calculations here, various calculated fields. So those are a couple of the key reasons that we implement these for customers. Here's another one, another summary looking in here, looking at overall demands and looking at the overall estimates and doing some calculation here of some custom measures that need to be tracked. Next here is looking at a business case. So you can do a business case in the system out of the box, which is great. And you can export that into a PDF out of the box, but it's not formatted in a format here that typically is you'd want to use. So here's an example for other organizations that want to have a more robust business case. We've done multiple different versions of this, 2-pagers, 3-pagers here on your different business cases. Project financials. So if you wanted to have more of a report, kind of see your trending over time here. So other opportunities that you can do here on the portals and view information. Resource forecast. So this has been heavily used. If you wanted to be able to, say, as part of doing your annual planning and all your demands are flowing in and you wanted to be able to understand by different teams or groups what's the overall requested resource needs, what's their current availability, where do we have any variances. This has been very well received. Organizations have used this as part of their annual planning. They're quickly able to see where they have variances. They can adjust their different demands and forecasts here. So very powerful solution here. Also, if you're trying to look at project work and non-project work, here's an example of using a portal in that fashion. So these are some of the common next steps when customers attend our webinars. So they might want to schedule a value discovery workshop, help to create an overall value map like we highlighted before, as well as helping to put together an overall roadmap. Also, organizations register to attend our implementation roadmap training workshops. So those are very powerful. They're 4-hour workshops where we walk through all the major inputs and best practices around project portfolio management. We also then walk you through 4 different kind of starting points. We walk you through 4 different implementation roadmap templates. So walk through all of those, and basically at the end of the session, everyone's kind of defined based upon their goals and objectives, their overall roadmap. So a very impactful training session. So you can register for that or reach out to us, and we can also schedule those for your specific organization. Next here, if you're looking at implementation, need some advisory services or just ongoing managed services here around ServiceNow and ServiceNow Project Portfolio Management, you can schedule that call, and we can discuss and let you know what it would take to address your current needs. As well as we can support the schedule of some of the reporting solutions we highlighted today. We can provide an overview of those. We can have a discovery session on what you're trying to accomplish and kind of let you know what it would take to implement a specific solution versus just purchasing one of the ones that we already have. So those are common next steps. They're pretty well aligned to the business value map we mentioned in the beginning. We're all about helping organizations get the positive results that they're looking for as part of their project investments. So we appreciate everyone attending our session today.